I got shit on. What's your favorite zombie game? My favorite zombie game, like, I want to say my favorite zombie game is Resident Evil. So my issue with Resident Evil is a lot of things. I actually really loved it. I loved Resident Evil, but unfortunately, oh, that takes 3. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shortcomings to the series that fucked it up for me. I actually have, I'm not sure if you remember, I keep mentioning this, and I hate to be a broken record, but I have like a $2,000 collection of Resident Evil games on my shelf. There's a whole shelf dedicated to it. I have the Resident Evil 1 keys on a shadow box display and the RE2 keys. And anyway, and like, I loved Resident Evil back then. Like, what made me dislike it was Resident Evil 4 onwards. The first thing I didn't like about 4 was that it completely changed the formula of what Resident Evil is all about. Sorry, I'm sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. So, Resident Evil 4 changed the Resident Evil formula as far as what made it a survival horror game. There are tons of reasons that I can tell you why I don't like 4. But I don't think that 4 is a bad game. I think it's a bad Resident Evil game altogether. Please don't mark my drone. What are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing? I enjoyed 4, at least for the story. My biggest gripe is 5, and then 6. 5. Resident Evil 5 and 6 are my biggest gripe. There was a game in between 4 and 5 that I actually really liked, and it was Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. And the reason for that is because it opened up the lore and made the plot so much deeper than what Resident Evil usually is. When you beat Code Veronica, it kind of hints or trails towards this expectation that there's going to be like this final showdown, right? Like, oh, we gotta destroy Umbrella. Whatever. Then you go into 4 and it's like, oh yeah, Umbrella is finished. For what reason? Like, what? What happened to Umbrella? What happened to, you know, the end of Resident Evil 3? Joe's like, Umbrella's going down. And then at the end of Code Veronica, Chris is like, yeah, we're gonna take down Umbrella, you know, whatever. And, you know, it's leading towards, like, this climactic conclusion, you know? You go in 4, Umbrella's over, whatever. But then at the end of 4, and at the end of the post-game content, it kind of alludes to this, like, mysterious, like, second party that is either Umbrella or something bigger than Umbrella, or something that is trying to be what Umbrella was, right? And Wesker was the main perpetrator behind that. You go into Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, and then they fill in all the shit that you were wondering what the fuck was going on. Like, how did Ada survive? Like, how did Wesker revive himself? Like how did that happen? And a whole bunch of other shit. And also, the most important thing is what actually happened to Umbrella, right? What actually happened to Umbrella? All of that was answered in Umbrella Chronicles, and then more. By more, I mean that the plot was built upon much more largely than any Resident Evil ever, and that was like a huge thing for me. Then you go into Resident Evil 5. And then it's just they kill Wesker for no reason. Like Wesker is an how can I put this? Wesker is a character who is very, what is the word? I don't want to say independent, but like, he's not someone that should be easily swayed as far as his ideals and what his plans are. Because at the end of Umbrella Chronicles and at the end of 4, it alludes to the fact, he's in break, it alludes to the fact that he has a bigger, grander plan in works. That there's an end goal that he wants. But then for some reason in 4, and here's another big thing. Who is Oswald E. Spencer? Who is the owner of Umbrella? You go into 5 and it just shits on all of that. They reveal who Oswald E. Spencer is. He dies immediately. Wesker suddenly is just like, oh, you're telling me that I'm not human, or I'm not my own person, and that I'm a clone of a whole bunch of other people, and there's other people just like me, or some shit like that. And then they're just like, yeah, your ideals are now my ideals. I'm gonna take away your ambitions. Like, that's not what Wesker is supposed to be like. It just took a shit over that, and because of that, it made him more emotional in terms of how it sways him from his ideals. Now he's just all like, I'm gonna be a god, and Chris is gonna stop me. I'm gonna play with Chris and whatever, and I'm gonna take, like, the bigger thing about that is why did Wesker taking Ouroboros. He should know that Ouroboros is not perfect, and if it's not perfect, he would never take it. He should be able to calculate what he should be able to do and then end up triumphant. But that's not in the case what happened in 5. He got angry, he got emotional, and because of that, he died. And that was the bigger thing, is that he died, right? That's my whole gripe with 5. Then you go into Resident Evil 6, and now mind you, there's not a lot of things to go off on about 6, but the thing about 6 is that in the trailer, it kind of looks epic. Like, we have never gotten a Resident Evil game where the outbreak has been in such a literal global scale, right? At this point, I don't even care that the formula is changed and that Resident Evil is an action game. Just make the story good. Make the story coherent and make it allude to more, right? Revelations did that, but I don't even know what the fuck Revelations is trying to do. The first Revelations, as far as a story, kind of alluded to something more. And then Revelations 2 kind of went into a whole is next on Lifetime bullshit, and then it kind of alludes to something else. I'll give it to Revelations that it does kind of implicate towards something bigger. But anyway, you go into 6. When you're going into such a global scale like that, you expect some major plot points to happen, and a lot of the potential was there. Sherry came back. We were wondering what happened to Sherry. The Veronica virus came into play, so maybe we might know where Steve Burnside went. Wesker's son is here. Is something gonna happen to Wesker, or is Wesker's son gonna be like the new antagonist? How come you guys keep getting spawn killed? Like, this is crazy. Right? But then nothing happens. Nothing happens at all, right? So you go into Ada's storyline, and you're just like, oh fuck, are we finally gonna get some answers to as far as what Ada's like disposition is in the plot, right? You play through Ada, you go through the whole fucking storyline, and then it ends with oh, the next mission. Wow, I'm not paying attention. It ends with oh, the next mission, I'm on my way, and then that's the end of it. Resident Evil 6 did absolutely nothing. It did nothing. It did nothing to advance the plot. It did nothing to answer any questions. And any of the questions they did answer, as far as what happened to Sherry, you know, whatever, or no, specifically what happened to Sherry, was answered in such a stupid fucking way. If you get the special edition of Code Veronica in Japan, you get a you get this thing called the Wesker stories, or the Wesker report. And in that report, it stated that he has a hold of Sherry. That he has Sherry either abducted, or they changed something to make it seem as if Sherry was under his supervision by another person. Why did that change? All of a sudden, 6 comes out and Sherry's like, I'm okay now because I can go to the public because Wesker's dead. And that's it. Like, that was a major plot point that should have been stipulated on, but it wasn't. Like, I don't understand why that's the case. I don't understand why they did that. It was just so lazy. Now, mind you, Resident Evil 7 was actually good, but again, Resident Evil 7 did nothing to propel the plot into greater things. I think as far as game design and gameplay, 7 is great, and it's definitely a breath of fresh air towards what 5 and 6, or I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6. I'm sorry, not even 4. 5 and 6 were, you know, but 7 did nothing as far as the plot point, and the plot is what I honestly care about at this point. I don't care about Resident Evil 8. I don't care about a lot of the new Resident Evil games. I don't even think I'm gonna play it. Alright, let me go on my main. I didn't really like 7. It has nothing to do with the other games to me. It doesn't, but to be fair, 7 was at least the closest thing to a horror game than what the predecessors have been.